Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Moving to the final aspect or the final topic of the chapter is environmental crisis and social response. So, what all are the environmental crises that we go through, and what all are the social responses that we have observed, is what we are going to talk about in this chapter, in this part of the chapter. So, what is the meaning of the term environmental crisis? It refers to the rapid and undesirable changes in the quality of the natural environment. What all changes that are happening, what all undesirable changes that are happening, something that is not expected, something that is very rapidly happening in the quality of the natural environment is what is known as the environmental crisis. Now, changes have very harmful effect on all forms of life, human beings and society. Obviously, all of these changes are termed as undesirable because they have a bad impact, a negative impact in the on the life of the people, the human beings, the plants, animals, society, everyone. So the situation has become so serious that now we talk of the environmental crisis, not merely of the environmental problems. Now, generally, at the first step, they would have been seen as the environmental problems. But now, because the situation has become so adverse that we talk about it in terms of the environmental crisis and not just the environmental problems. One of its aspect is it has a global dimension because the planet Earth is one large ecosystem. It is not something that the problems that we are facing in India will only remain in India, or the problems that they are facing back in US will only remain in US and will not reach here. It is a process of it affecting the whole society. It is the process of affecting the whole larger ecosystem which is there on planet Earth, wherein we are just the part of the planet Earth as nations. So the environmental crisis at the global level they have discussed are ozone depletion, global warming, or climatic changes. Now, when you talk about ozone depletion, for example, or the global warming, all of these things are it's present everywhere. It is some aspects, some areas are adversely affected, and some are in a way, as of now, under control. But it is affecting all the spheres of the earth, and that is why it is known as the environmental crisis. It says that ozone depletion, we know, is the formation of the hole in the layer of the ozone, in the layer of ozone in the Earth's atmosphere that blocks the harmful rays of the sun. Global warming, we know, is the rise in Earth's average temperature due to increasing concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Global warming is popularly also known as the climate change. So these are the three major spheres that they had talked about, out of which we know global ozone depletion is the hole that we see in the layer of the ozone in the Earth's surface, because of which you have the harmful layers, the rays reaching to the earth, because now you have a hole in that surface. Wherein you talk about global warming, it is the increase in the average temperature of the earth due to the increasing concentration of the carbon dioxide, and that is what is popularly known as climate change. Now, when we talk about the origin of the climate crisis, from where does it start? I mean, it is not that we suddenly saw a big hole which is affecting our lives. There must be a start to it, there must be a beginning to it. Now, and how all and what all are to be, or what all is to be done. Now, it can be traced to the emergence of urban industrial society. So, when there was this emergence or the start of the urban industrial society, it was seen to be started. When the industries were replaced by muscle power, they mean the handmade thing or the hand power that was being there when industries or rather machineries took over in this sphere with the combustion engines which used the fossil fuels, namely coal and oil. It all started with the excessive use of machinery. It all started with the less work power in the hands of the people, in the hands of the man, and increase in the industries wherein you see the use of coal and oil increased manifold. Now, these engines release pollutants into the atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide and other harmful gases. So these machineries, these engines do release pollutants in the atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide and harmful gases. Now, they also discharge the industrial waste that is there, that contains the chemical substances into air, water, and soil. So they also discharge the waste which is there. One is the air pollution which is happening because of the releasing of the carbon dioxide and the harmful gases. Other one is the water and the land pollution that we face, because you see, or because you face the challenges when the industrial waste is drained and you have the chemical substances flowing in the air, water, and the soil. The development of industries also increased the desire for material possessions and goods. You wanted to have more and more goods, you wanted to acquire, you wanted to possess more and more goods. And in order to produce these goods, the natural resources like forest began to be used. In order to acquire all of those goods, in order to acquire, possess all of those man-made goods that were being present, that you wanted the raw material. Now, where would the raw material come from? You had to turn your face to the forest for the raw materials, and that is how the natural resources like raw materials started to be used, began to be used, and that is how they depleted. Thus, the pursuit of material in affluence has further affected the environment, leading to deforestation, the excessive cutting of the trees, wherein you see a major impact in the water pollution, you see a major impact in the soil pollution, in the air pollution, because of this particular factor. Now, along with the development of the industries, rapid population growth has been responsible for the present environmental crisis. A rapidly growing population needs larger amount of natural resources for food, shelter, and clothing. So when your population is increases, you need larger amount of resources in natural form also, the raw material form also, for the food, clothing, and shelter to be apt or to be accessible by all. So at the same time, the growing population also produces greater amounts of waste and pollutants. It is there, one, we are affecting the natural environment, one, we are affecting the natural entity by having or by growing, by taking them, procuring excess of raw material for our survival. And on the other hand, we, because of the increase in the population, you see the increase in the pollutants, increase in the pollutants and waste also. Particularly true in case of towns, cities which produce large amount of urban waste. We do understand and relate to it. Both the developments, namely industrialization and rapid population growth, have radically changed the relationship between society and environment. So the two main causes that we would talk about under this is, or under the origin of the environment crisis, is the industrialization and rapid population growth. Because of both of these reasons, the environment and the human society has seen an imbalance between themselves. There is a radical change that we have seen in the relationship that the human society and environment share with each other. Now, this has led to increasing use of natural resources, like we have talked about. At the same time, it has produced pollutants of different types that we have again talked about. And in their pursuit of material affluence, they have created the environmental crisis. Because of all of these reasons, they have created the environmental crisis. Moving ahead, we talk about the aspects of environmental crisis. What are the aspects of the environmental crisis? So it is the global aspects to the environmental crisis. There are global aspects because, like we said, it is talking about planet Earth and not just one nation or not just one state or one geographical area. So there are ozone depletion, there are global warming and climate changes that are taking place. Local aspects of environmental crisis are different types of pollution. So when the AQI in Delhi rises, or when the AQI in, let's say, major parts of India rises, it is related to the local aspect. It is not much to do with the international or the global aspect. But what are the things which are to do with the global and the whole sphere international aspect is the pollution and the pollutants. Now, pollution is a deviation from the natural composition of the environment, which results in adverse effects on living in beings. It is pollution is not something which is to be naturally adapted in the environment. It is an alien composition. So it is not a form, it is a deviation from the natural composition. That means and hence will have adverse effects on the living beings. Now, a pollutant is a harmful solid, liquid, or gaseous substance, and in such concentration that is injurious to the living beings. So basically, pollutants are the either natural, gaseous, or solid form of substances which are in such a concentration that are injurious to the living beings. Moving ahead is the air pollution. Air pollution is the imbalance in the quality of air. While here I was talking about AQIs, that's the air quality index, so as to cause adverse effects on the living beings. Everyone is inhaling the air. When everyone is inhaling the air and it is not the natural composition of the air, it is going to affect each and every person, and that is what causes the air pollution. That is when you have it is caused by the dust and the carbon particles and the harmful gases. It creates a condition like the smog. You must have heard about this term smog, wherein you talk about smoke plus fog, but in reality it is actually the disturbed or the imbalance in the quality of the air that the person is inhaling. Now, air pollution causes diseases like tuberculosis, breathing problems. The word here is problems, breathing problems, and airborne diseases. So, all of this are what you face in the air pollution. Moving ahead to water pollution, it is the presence of excess of undesirable substances in the water. Now, water is again a major aspect or major requirement for survival. When you have undesirable substances in water and when you cannot stay without water, that is when you face challenges, and that is when it takes a global issue of the water pollution. Such substances are decomposed vegetables, animals, urban waste, garbage, industrial waste, etc. It can cause diseases like dysentery, cholera, and jaundice as well. Moving ahead of the noise pollution. Noise pollution is the excess of noise in the environment. When you get irritated with a lot of, with very high volume songs at times, or very high volume, very high intensity of music at times, that is what is one of the reasons of the air pollution. That is what is the cause of the noise pollution. It is caused by noise from the factories, machines, automobile, etc. It is not just to do with music, but when the machinery is being run, when you have machines working, when you have factories working, the noise that is there, the noise, the constant noise that is there, and is not and is excessive in nature is what makes it a noise pollution. Moving ahead to the social responses to the environmental causes. Now, there has to be some dimension talking about the social causes to the environmental crisis here. Talking about, there are two dimensions. One is the environmental conservation, and the second one is the keeping the environment clean. Let's see what is the conservation of the environment. It means that all living beings, including human beings, get their requirements from the environment. We do get whatever even man-made we are making. We do have our requirements from the environment. We do have the requirements of the let's say the raw material from the environment. So, our earth is actually providing us with food that we eat, water that we drink, and air that we breathe, and material for our clothes as well. Nature has the capability of regenerating or replenishing in own it replenishing its own stock. So this is its own stock wherein they replenish, but the process is slow. The process of regeneration, the process of replenishing is a slow process. Hence, the stock of the natural resources is limited because it is a slow process. It cannot be regenerated at a very fast pace, and also that the natural resources are a limited stock. Now, in pre industrial societies, there was a balance between the human consumption of natural resources and the earth's capacity to regenerate. If you have, let's say, a machine that is able to generate, let's say, 10 chocolates at a time, that is able to produce 10 chocolates at a time, and you have, let's say, 10 people at once waiting for in the queue, they get it at once. But what about when you have 100 people waiting in the queue, but the regenerating capacity or the manufacturing capacity out here in this example of the machine remains same? That is when you start to exploit that machine, or that is when the problem or the challenges between the relationship with the between the people and the machinery comes in. Herein, our mother earth does not have that fast capacity to regenerate, that in which can be, which can be catered to the consumption that we are taking at this point of time. And hence is this imbalance on the earth. But in the industries and the urban societies, this balance has been seriously disturbed due to the rapid population. Like I said, what when you have 10 people, you are still able to manage it. Even when you get 20 people, you are still able to manage it. But what if when you get 100 people all together? That is what is the impact of the rapid increase in the population on our environment, on our nature, and our natural resources. They say that there is a need to involve ourselves in the conservation of environment. You alone or I alone can't do anything. There's a need for all of us to involve ourselves in the conservation of environment. Environmental conservation means avoiding the wasteful practices that damage the environment. So avoiding all those wasteful practices that are damaging the environment is the aspect of the environment conservation. So basically, environment conservation means avoiding the wasteful practices that damage the environment. What all can we as individuals do when we see or when we face this environment being as seeing that in an imbalanced stage and try and conserve it. For example, they say we need to stop unnecessary and mindless deforestation because it leads to soil erosion. It says because of the process of deforestation, it is leading to soil erosion, which is leading to the challenges in the environment. And that is one thing that we have to stop. That is one thing that we have to mindlessly doing any of these actions with regards to environment is something that we got to stop. We can also involve ourselves in projects of afforestation and greening the environment. Afforestation, as in planting more trees, greening the environment, planting more trees and greening the environment. So they say that one of the very major aspect and one of the very basic tasks that we can do is the change of our lifestyle. How are we living our lifestyle, and how within our lifestyle we can alter ourselves and our lives to avoid wasteful consumption and wastage. Also, they talk about what Mahatma Gandhi has said. Mahatma Gandhi once said that the earth provides enough for everyone for satisfying the man's need, but not every man's greed. So, your need is to do with satisfaction, something that is what you should be happy with, something that is your major requirement. However, your greed has to do with another, a lot of abundance that you want. The resources is in abundance that you require. So the earth can satisfy all the needs of the man. But when it comes to the man's greed, it is very, very difficult for our mother earth to satisfy the greed of the man. Moving ahead, talking about the second aspect is keeping the environment clean. Now, how and what is to be done? Treating industrial waste, urban waste, and garbage will prevent the water and the air pollution. We have talked about it. Using eco friendly motors and engines, especially in the transport vehicles, will prevent the air pollution. We should be using the eco friendly motors and engines to keep the air pollution, to prevent ourselves from the air pollution and keep the air pollutants away. Disposing of the domestic waste and the garbage in the way that they do not pollute water or soil. So wherein we have to dispose of the material that has to be disposed of should be done in the areas or in the way it should not be impacting on the environment. Using the eco-friendly material and avoiding non-biodegradable material, that is, for example, like plastic bags. We do witness that a lot of us have stopped using plastic bags. A lot of states have even banned plastic bags. There's a huge fine if the plastic bags are seen, because it is something which is non-degradable. It is something which will not go from the earth, unlike, and which will keep on producing the challenging situations from the earth and keep on polluting the earth. Moving ahead, using the materials that can be recycled. For example, paper can be recycled. So instead of plastic bags, we are now using the paper bags and promoting the paper bags. Planting more trees, afforestation, and reducing the deforestation and hence the soil erosion is what are the another aspects. In addition to adopting these and other ways of keeping the environment clean, individuals can also prevent others from damaging the environment. In fact, they should encourage and urge others to keep their surroundings clean and green. It is not just, like I said, one man's show. It is not that our Pradhan Mantri came up with the Swachh Bharat Yojana. So that means, okay, he has done all the task. It was a contribution from all of us. Now, herein also it is your contribution as well as your contribution in making others aware of what can they do to keep their surroundings neat and clean. It is about encouraging and educating others or what are the steps to be taken on keeping the environment clean.